Welcome to Strength in the Numbers. My name is Andrew Codd, accountant, author, and commercial finance entrepreneur, and it's my job each week to bring you leaders in finance and business and deconstruct with them their real stories, insights, and hard-won lessons into practical advice on the key strengths and qualities you need to remain relevant in accounting and finance today, as well as the steps you can begin to take to elevate the impact you make to have a fun, successful, and rewarding career in accounting and finance. Now let's go over to the show. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Strength in the Numbers. Now, on a recent Monday memo, I shared two questions: what's a business and what's an accountant? And if you ever ask these questions to a classroom full of 10 and 11-year-olds, you'd get a load of hands go up. They'd be bursting to throw something out there, very enthusiastic, even if their answer is a guess or not. And I love that curiosity and that eagerness to learn. However, if we were to ask the same questions in a lecture hall to a group of undergrads or even postgraduates, that same enthusiasm doesn't really seem to be there. So what's changed? Where's that curiosity and eagerness gone? And particularly if you take from the quote from the novelist James Stephens, that curiosity will conquer fear even more than bravery will, curiosity is quite an important thing. So in this week's episode, we're joined by four prior guest mentors, Marcus Thelwell, Khaled Chowdhury, Andi, Lonnen, and Andi, Purushothaman, who help us better understand the value of curiosity in finance and accounting, and share with us practical ways on how we can be more curious. In this episode, you'll hear from each of them and understand what the premium of curiosity looks like, how understanding the end-to-end of a business can better help our curiosity, where curiosity fits in the 9 skills acquired in this age of the accountant, and the importance of having curiosity about what we're doing on a daily basis. So curiosity is a fundamental part of creating more influence in what we do, but also helping us have a better and bigger impact in our careers as finance and accounting professionals. So look, hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please remember to share with your friends and colleagues. You can subscribe on all the major platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Spotify. You can find detailed show notes, ways to connect with the guest mentors, and much more at SITNshow.com. So look, that's enough from me. So without further ado, over to the guest mentors and the show.
Sure. So I think knowing your business, or knowing the business that you work in really well is key. Knowing what your stakeholders are interested in is key, because often in clients, maybe 80 to 90% of the work that finance departments do is either not of interest to the business, whether that's through putting reports together that have always been put together for years, whether that's consolidating different data sets and numbers. I think a lot of the time people in finance and accounting are doing those tasks because they are part of their working day schedules and always have been. What they haven't done is actually look at the bigger picture of what they're doing and be like, what is it that the business is looking for from the information that I'm providing them? Is this information hitting the mark in terms of the decisions that are being made? I think a lot of the time we're, as finance practitioners, we're waiting for the business to come to us asking what they want. But actually it should be the other way around, where we continually test and ask questions of the business in terms of what they want, because I think often we expect the business to know what they want, and they don't until they actually see something that's really useful, and that's when they'll go, actually, that's really useful. Can we have more of that information, please?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one, that last piece there, Marcus, because that's probably an assumption, you're new to a career, right? You'd expect the business to know what they need to know, right? But that's so true. I mean, and I've seen that in my career many times. It's it's an assumption I think a lot of us have. How do we make sure our new entrants don't just naturally assume that the business already has what they need? How can we snap out of that? Or is there any things we can do to in effect, get over that hurdle and start to be adding more value, unlocking more value for them?
Sure. I think trying to instill a culture of just inquisitiveness and curiosity about what it is that we're doing on a daily basis is really important. And providing the room for younger people, especially, to be able to put forward new ideas or new ways of working on what we're doing. I think often we find that people who've been in a business a long time can kind of get stuck in their ways a lot in terms of how they work. And actually, younger minds, younger objective minds without the constraints of kind of what's possible and what's not, we should be kind of utilizing these new ideas and how they see the world, especially with new technology and new ways of working. A lot of the time, young people are kind of coding for fun, but older, more senior people in the business wouldn't know what coding is or what it's capable of. And actually, like, the changes are so drastic now that we should actually start listening to younger people who have exposure and an interest in these new ways of working, because the capability and possibility of the time efficiencies are just enormous, especially for the finance and accounting part of the business.
Yeah, I agree. That's great advice. I was just going with that time and efficiency angle. You made a point earlier, like, I suppose a lot of our work we do, it's necessary to get the insights out to make an impact, but it's not necessarily what our business partners, our customers are willing to pay for. I suppose, do you ever how do you get your head around that? You're new to the career, right? And you're expected to do work that ultimately the customer probably wouldn't pay for. Like, how do you stay motivated? That a lot of our work in terms of data collection, cleaning, trying to, I suppose, ascertain what it is that we're trying to report, get the reports out. A lot of that the customers probably wouldn't pay for, or our clients wouldn't really pay for. So, that seems like dead time, and it may seem like non-value add time, but it's a necessary step we have to go through, or it's maybe just, it's been always the way it's been done in finance, and it can be quite demotivating. So I'm just trying to think, like, how do we get our heads around that to keep with it, so that once we go through that, we're adding value or unlocking value in the business.
Yep. So I think, especially for new people, even if we set the challenge to them, so they've got a finance process to run, whether it's putting together a report.
Yeah.
If I was a manager, I would say to them, I'll set you a challenge. If you can improve the efficiency of this process from 5 days to 4 days, then you can have that extra day to look into something within finance that you're interested in, or something in the business that you'd like to learn about, to get to know, and almost set the challenge down themselves, and give them the opportunity to actually critically think about the process they're putting together, and actually come up with suggestions on how to improve. And then once you find those efficiencies, actually then reinvesting it back to actually support something else which could improve additional value to the business.
In effect, I think what you suggested there is you actually made it goal orientated. So rather than look at it as a problem, we're doing all this work for it doesn't seem much in the way of return. It's actually, let's have a good, positive, constructive goal around this, so I can get to work on the things that the customer might matter to the customers and the clients.
Exactly. And I think from a mindset perspective, for someone's new into finance, people want to have purpose. People want to be challenged. People don't want to do the same things every day. People don't want to be criticized. People want to have the room to grow. So I think it's the framing of problems into kind of productive challenges is something that I have definitely had a positive reaction to, and the people around me have as well.
I think the part that I want to really talk about is we are at the cusp of a software revolution, and that software revolution is about to leave a lot of people behind, like it did during the Industrial Revolution. And it's the automation and all the things that we were talking about. However, the part that I want to highlight is, should we be alarmed about it? Definitely. But I want to highlight one of the things that I picked up from Simon Sinek. He talked about when we're nervous, we get sweaty palms, elevated heart rate, all kind of fun stuff. But if you look at it from different perspective, that's the same symptom we have when we're excited. So as it is, how the software revolution can keep create a barrier for people or leave a lot of people behind. At the same time, it is also one of the most exciting times from a perspective that it opens up so many possibilities. So I think people should take this opportunity to invest in the most guaranteed asset, that is themselves, to take advantage of this wealth of information, because there has been no time in history the amount of information and really good information and education that's out there, which is also free. So taking advantage of things like that can be very fruitful. Just to give you an example, I'm taking a class by Laurie Santos, who is teaching the most popular class in Princeton. It's about how to be happy. And think from a different perspective, right? I don't have the resources to be able to take a class from Princeton, Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Cambridge, but in today's world, it's more than likely it's out there. It's about finding the curiosity deep down and looking for the information, because there is definitely a premium on curiosity.
Look, I think I know the answer why, obviously, because we've spoken about this. But for audience, why is there that premium on curiosity in your mind?
So the reason, it kind of goes back what we were talking about earlier, but as things get more automated, all the cut, copy, VLOOKUP that we did in the old days, those will not be required. We will be given the information much better, but it would be of the curious mind to find informations behind it proactively, to find insight that is helpful to the business. So I'll give you a different example. So this was an experience that I had in my first job. So right after I started, there was a hurricane that hit Houston. And we made this claim for $900,000 to our insurance agency, for $500,000 for onshore and $400,000 for offshore. The first thing they did when they came back, they said, your policy doesn't cover offshore. So me being me, I was curious. I was like, okay, tell me what exactly it covers. So they said it is any area that was impacted by the hurricane, whether through initial landfall or rainfall, the exact trajectory of the hurricane path. So initially our claims was based on coastal locations. As after getting this information, I was curious enough to go figure out the entire zip codes of the hurricane path, only to find out that my biggest customer, which is 500 miles inland, got impacted. And we ended up getting a $1.4 million settlement, a lot more than what the initial claim was for, even though they denied half the claim that we initially made.
But look, that's where that's a very important point about curiosity. You know, if we're not challenging the way we're currently doing it now, and you know those VLOOKUPs that you mentioned and whatever to extract, transform the data, that a lot of us are still doing that. You know, and software is going to allow us to automate an awful lot of that piece. And if we're not preparing ourselves to then invest that time in our curiosity, not just in our businesses, but in ourselves, then, you know, it'd be like a big hurricane will come out of nowhere and it could be quite expensive for us.
That is absolutely true. I mean, just to give you a little bit background to that, you read my article around the mindset, right? Where I talk about it is no longer good enough for us to be jack of all trades and master of Excel.
Yeah, that's part of the image problem. Yep.
So, I mean, see, the problem becomes is you need technical skills, right? But that's
Yeah.
not who you are.
That's
At the end
correct.
of the day,
There's a lot more to us.
yes. So at the end of the day, we are the steward of the data that is help guide the business to make the right decisions. And whether that's formed in different ways, Excel or that skill set. I mean, I have had people have fun discussion about VLOOKUP versus index match.
Yes.
But I understand the point of view, but at the end of the day, I care about the end product. So it is more important from our image perspective is to get out of that Excel jock rather than focusing on the technical skill set. By all means, we need to focus on technical skill set, which I'm actually writing an article on, hopefully coming out in sometime in March, that different kind of technical skill set we should be focusing on. But at the end of the day, it should be about the value you provide to the business. As you were mentioning earlier, having that value log, highlighting the information to the business that how you're helping them make the better decisions, not being a necessary evil. Just one of your points that you highlighted about the pinball effect, it's about surrounding yourself with the people that will help make you that change. So find your tribe to start your journey.
Something we help with is something called our finance business partner formula. And even though we call it finance business partner, it's professionals who wish to add more value. And it's a framework, it's a formula just to try and help. There's so many skills that people are bandying around. We need to think about this, we need to think about that. And that's where the overwhelm can come. So we came up with this framework that's 9 C's. So words beginning with C. I'm happy to go through them just quite briefly to help people understand the type of skill sets we need to be thinking about. Will that be helpful?
Yeah, let's do it. Love to, Andi.
Yeah, let's do it. So the first C, which will come as no surprise to anyone, is communicating financial information effectively. So this does not mean flinging numbers at people. It's telling the story behind the numbers so that people can understand and everyone can join in the financial conversation. So this communication piece, keep working at simplifying your communication, almost at removing numbers from communicating with non-finance people. Get the story, help them with the story, help them understand, help them with the next C, which is connecting and collaborating with people. So really building those relationships, partnering with others in the organization or partnering with your clients to help them grow their businesses, help them know what they need to do. Because what's obvious to you as an accountant is not obvious to other people. They're not trained. They don't have your training and qualification and experience. So connection, collaborating, being clear on strategic goals, being a clear strategic thinker. So really thinking about what you're in business to do, what your organization is there to achieve at the top level, and staying focused on this key purpose to help really focus what work you're doing and how you can add value. Where are you adding value into? You need to know what the strategic goals of the organization are. Being more commercial, people will hear this all the time and wonder what it means. You know, I need to have more commerciality, more commercial acumen. And it's basically understand the business, understand what business you're in, understand what other people do, go shadow them, go talk to them, join their team meetings, go and find out what else is happening in your industry. And this doesn't have to be overwhelming. That you don't have to, I know how busy accountants are. I've done it for 20 years. I work with accountants day in, day out, and I know what deadlines they've got. This is just listening to what's going on. It's just getting away from the desk sometimes and talking to other people, joining in a meeting, maybe reading a bit of trade journal on a train or listening to a podcast in a car. And so on. And being a change agent and challenging the status quo is the next C. So it's not change for change's sake, but it's just challenging the way things are done around here, and not doing that like a bull in a china shop, but doing it in a constructive way. There's another C. There are so many words that we could. It's hard to just narrow it down to 9. So thinking about what change is required. Is it, are things done because they've always been done this way, and it's gently helping yourself and nurturing other people along the change curve, if you like, as well. Computer, digital, of course, has to come in here. And I know lots of accountants really embrace technology, which is fantastic. A lot don't, and that's okay, but just recognize that in yourself and then think about what would make it more comfortable to learn more about computer and digital. There's so many resources out there at the moment to help you on this journey. Next C, curiosity.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
That will help with everything else, really. Curiosity, creative and can-do attitude, really important. Calm, confident and in control. It's so easy to be overwhelmed. It's so easy to get dragged down with it all. And it's just becoming more personally resilient so that you are in a place of calm to help people and make decisions and support yourself to be able to support others. And the final one, which I hope is an obvious one, is being a competent finance professional. Yeah. You can't help other people with finance unless you know finance.
Yeah. It's sort of people just assume that sort of thing, but that's completely right. It's and Andy, just thinking about all of them, I mean, there's 9, some people think there's a lot there, but like, I mean, do you have any sort of recommendations on how people sort of use these? I mean, do they go and try and be good at all of them, focus on one? I mean, is there a good way of trying a pace maybe or cadence to develop in each of these 9 C's?
Yeah, that's such a good question. We're about to launch our online finance business partner academy, and on there it's a completely free resource. There's a self-assessment quiz that you can take, and it's 3 questions under each of the 9 C's, and you score yourself. And you can do this yourself. It is a self-assessment, but you can do it with your boss, you can do it with partners that you work with as well to get a true picture. Then you can find out areas where you're already quite strong, so keep doing it, and areas where you might need to strengthen and areas to focus on. So you can do it in a systematic, step-by-step way and look at where needs to improve, and tying that into strategic goals as well. So really thinking about, okay, well, the business needs this. This is where I'm strong. This is where I'm weak. So where on this, using your professional judgment, do you need to develop first to contribute, to make more of a contribution?
One thing that happens every day is staff mentoring. Almost every conversation I have I take it as an opportunity to be a teachable moment. It's a young team that I have, a great team, grateful for the fact that they all want to learn. But every conversation is a great opportunity to teach them, whether it's on leadership, decision making, taking initiative, problem solving, or just finance related issues.
So will you say that, that mentoring and teaching or developing people as one of the most exciting moments for you right now for your role? Sounds like you really enjoyed it. And, talking to you right now, I can feel that the energy, that passion that you have around talent development.
Yeah, without a shadow of doubt, that is the most exciting thing. I mean, my role, as I see, is having hired people or having an inherited team is to make them the best they can. And if they develop and they grow from that, I've done my job. Let's say, man, my aim in the teams that I want to build a team that is curious. I want people who are willing to think and want to think. Because if you're not thinking, I don't really want you in my team. And then I want people who are open-minded, because no one knows everything. Okay, not even Donald Trump. So, we need to be open-minded and willing to learn from others. And because someone else in the team or someone else in the organization may have an idea to a solution that we're facing or the organization is facing. And finally, what I look for in people is people who can collaborate, because you can ask all the right questions, and you can be curious and you can get all the information from everyone. But unless you're willing to collaborate with others, you can't get things done. So that's what, definitely building, mentoring a team and building them, getting the best out of the team is what excites me and motivates me most.
Wow, well said. I still remember one of the best leaders that I've ever worked with. She used to say to me that one of the recipes for success is to surround herself with very talented and good people. So you have to invest in your team before you and the team can be successful. So switching gear over to supporting your business stakeholders, share with our audience, how do you and your team partner and value create for the business now in the midst of the pandemic, which is very interesting time, and also post the COVID-19?
Sure. Since we're a developer and we actually don't do the construction ourselves, we engage other firms we collaborate with other firms to do that. And we've got a rather entrepreneurial CEO at the helm who's constantly being bombarded with opportunities across the country. Much of my focus has been to working closely with the project development director and the CEO to map out on the tools and the analysis that we need to do to evaluate these opportunities and how we should manage, set them up, how we should evaluate the new project, and also monitor their progress once the projects have been embarked on. The what if analysis, given that with the pandemic, we're going to expect sales to slow down and expect people to extend the payment cycle, if you like. So we need to come up with a robust kind of analysis on what can we do and what's our comfort level and what projects need to perhaps be held back or delayed until we find out, till we have greater insight as such.
Okay, I keep having myself on mute, but on the tools and evaluation and the what if analysis. Now, coming to talk about that mindset of finance professional at this very uncertain time, how do you see that mindset kind of complement together with all those tools, which some of them can be a little static? So which kind of come in as more important for us to navigate through this crisis together with the business?
Sure. Look, your audience, I think, would have come across the term VUCA, VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And I reckon no other time than the current time where we're facing greater volatility, greater uncertainty, complex issues, and ambiguity. So I think the single most important trait that we need to be able to cultivate is the ability to be comfortable with all these factors. We be comfortable with ambiguity. We're not going to have all the information that we need to make decisions, but we need to make decisions to go forward. And it is being comfortable with the uncomfortable, with being able to foresee the future to some degree, to have a sense of imagination. And all that comes from actually understanding that your business end to end. So when you understand your business end to end and understand how the different components of the business interact, that will help you understand, hang on, if something happens in sales, how is that going to impact on cash flow, and how will that impact on paying our development or construction partners as such? Maybe if there's a need to accelerate some construction work so that we can actually show we've got things out there to help from the sale process, if you like, or could be vice versa.
Yes, indeed. I guess one of the learning for myself during the crisis is, indeed, in addition to VUCA, as what you talk about, VUCA, it's the only certainty in life right now is uncertainty. So
yes,
we will need to live with that. Now, in terms of post-COVID-19, what is your view, and how do you see finance playing a proactive role in terms of supporting the business and emerging stronger together with the business?
Sure. I've actually got a fairly optimistic view of the future. I think we'll come out as a globe, as a world, stronger, more united, a lot more compassionate. I think people will understand, if they didn't know before, that how interconnected we are. How the waves sort of followed across the whole world as such. I think also at a personal level too, I would say that given I do a lot of interim work and remote work, I think that market will explode. So I think finance people will have to get more comfortable in doing work remotely, and we've got the technology to do that now. In fact, in my roadmap, when I went to see my CEO about moving back from Cambodia to Australia to see out the rest of my contract the next 2.5 months to do work remotely, I had 11 items were on the agenda, and said, look, 10 of the 11 items I can do effectively from anywhere in the world, and the one item was something that we can delegate to somebody else on the ground to help out and do, and it was not going to be critical.
So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to know more about our guests today, their bio, and follow up on the resources mentioned during the show, you can find all the relevant links and more at sitnshow.com. There you'll also be able to get access to earlier shows, read the latest blogs. There's also an opportunity to subscribe to our newsletter, which will give you heads up as to when the next show is coming out, latest events, news, and anything that's going to be relevant to help you have a fun, rewarding and successful career in finance and accounting. And just before you go, we really appreciate your feedback. If there's something we can do better on the show, something that's not working, or something you'd like to see, even a guest you'd like for us to invite onto the show, someone who you think might be able to benefit you more and also the rest of our community, please let me know. You can email me. I'm at andrew@sitnshow.com, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just drop me a message so I know how you found me and we can connect. And really, it's our community that'll make the show. If we keep engaging and driving each other on, we'll keep on building our strength in the numbers. When all is said and done, if we can do the numbers better and finance better, we'll create more opportunities for ourselves, our friends, our families, our communities and our businesses. So until next time, have a good rest of the week, take care, and let's keep building our strength in the numbers.